All right, welcome friends. I just recorded something and it didn't record. 45 minutes. So Miss K is going to show you in probably a quicker version how I did that. All right, so let's take a look at what I just got done doing. And you are only responsible for one of these, all right? But I figure everybody might have different art supplies, and so I am showing you all the different supplies, all right? So the first step of what I did is, let me go ahead and show you. All right, and just in case this doesn't work, I'm working smarter, not harder. I'm holding the phone as well. All right, so you might see that, that's fine. So the first step is I did this lesson with paint with a bottle of paint, acrylic, black, white, and I chose a green, hold on, where is it? All right, and that one goes with this one, all right? And so what I did is I laid out a black, 2 squirts of green, and as you can see, I really didn't use that green, and then a squirt of white. And I just used a piece of paper to mix my colors before I added them to my palette, which is going to be where you choose to paint. Again, friends, I have lots of examples. You are only in charge of one. All right, and so again, that was the squirted out paint where I started with white, and then I added a little bit of, just a teeny bit of green to it, and went over it, made light green, add a little bit more green, and made like a darker green, and then I just straight up put a lot of green on my brush and went this way, and then I added black and the color to get this dark green, and then almost it's black on the right side. And because so many friends turned in, it looked like a beach ball. It was white, and then it was medium, and then it went back to white, so many of you. And I need you to understand that it should go white to dark, okay? White to dark. And so the last section is black with the little shadow underneath with black at the top and white at the bottom, typical still life. Okay, the next one, I used watercolor colored pencils, all right, and I used water, and so I used what I figured most parents would want you to use if you're at all messy like Miss K. These are the colors I used, all right, and I drew the same picture, which was a circle with a pencil, and then I added, and I don't, let's see, don't use this pencil, but I added a minus on both sides. I boxed it in, and then I wrote my name, okay, and then once you do that, I made it white, even though it was white, I just put white right on top of the white, okay, and then I also added half of this was white, all right, and then the other half, before you do that, I added an area of the yellow green because the box comes with 2 shades of green, so that has the most variety of value, so I went with that. So yellow green, and then I went over this again with yellow green, but I stopped right about here, and then I just lightly shaded this color with green on top of the yellow green. So this one is these two right here. And then I started going in with green and the black, okay? And then I just went black to black. And so I made like a light green black, medium green black, and then just all black to end that. I did try to add some red because we were talking about complementary colors. And just to remind you, please watch the video, I think it's slide 22, where it talks about using colored pencils to shade with. I think it's very valuable if you have a set of colored pencils and you're trying to find a color. If you're like an artist and you're like, I gotta make this color, how do I make it? Well, this video shows how. And just a brief reminder, the primary colors I call the dad, that's yellow, blue, and red. And then the orange colors are the secondary colors. It's orange, green, and purple. And then the tertiary colors are the babies with the dashes in between. So yellow dad and orange mom makes yellow orange baby. Okay, so that's sort of how I teach the colors so that you can remember them. This video showed how to add white on top as the last step if you're trying to make a pastel color or a light shade with, light tint. Tint is with white. And, uh-oh, friends, I think my video is turning out much better with my phone. All right, or black is shaded with the inner circle here. So you've got green and a little black, but the last step is to go back over with the color. So this inner circle, if you choose to ever make a colored pencil, these are saturated colors, these are muted light pastel colors, and then these are colors with shade, right? Shade, tint, bold, saturated color. All right. And then it teaches you like what the best choice is to do. But again, friends, I'm just keeping it simple. These are the monochromatic. Then I went over here. So that was watercolor colored pencils, and you add water to it and it looks like a painting. All right. The next step, I knew I gave you some paint. All right. Might look like that. Might have looked like that. Might have been a big bottle. All right. It might have been tempera. This is acrylic. This is, I don't know what this is, tempera, I think. And so what I did was use this color and put that color in the middle. And then before I did that, I added white again because I figure you all, this is just if I want to get the paint out and use the paint kind of thing and not use watercolor colored pencils. So use the white on the left side, use the black on the right side. And I didn't finish this because I just wanted you to see like how I did everything. So again, when I was done with the acrylic, my acrylic mess looked like this. I didn't have anything left with the watercolor. I didn't have anything. I just scooped it out of this and put it directly on the paper. And this one is obviously not done, but this is one paint that you have in your bag and 2 watercolor colored pencils. And so I just wanted to show you how I did it that way. Still do the black top and the bottom. White. All right, then the next over here were just markers. And so again, my markers came with a light and a dark and a black. Didn't come with white. So you just got to leave that plain. And then I went over this, and then I went over this, and then I went over the backwards one, and I colored the top in with the black. And I added I put these down after I went over these 2 over here. And then this one was made with these 2 colors. Okay. And then I just took my paintbrush and the water. I cleaned it out first. And I just went over the whole thing so that the marker now looks like paint. Okay. So you can do it that method. I'm trying to accommodate everybody's different ways, whether you got acrylic paint, watercolor colored pencil, the paint in your bag, what to do. You could even, let's say for some reason you don't have the watercolor colored pencils, you could take this pencil and this could be a way, but don't forget this, and don't forget you could color in this, not as messy, but all right. And then you could, let's see what happens. It doesn't really shade, does it? All right, and I can see the purple because I went ahead. The only watercolor I wanted to show you what happens with watercolor. But Miss Kay, the watercolors, those oval ones that we have that don't have liquid in them. You are correct. Usually you have to add water to the little ovals. All right, I don't have one of those out. I just represented watercolor with this. And then I poured just a dot of it in here. All right, and then I just went and I made white, left it white, just dipped a little bit with some water, and I went over halfway, just right here with water, and then I dipped it and went over it so it was a light. Dipped it again in the paint, made a medium. Dipped it again, made a dark, and again I'm trying to, you could use marker if you've got the marker to make that. You could use the black oval paint. I still want you to use, go around the edges, finish this one up as well. All right, so I'm trying to help you guys in whatever art supplies you have. I'm trying to keep this simple with teaching a monochromatic, simplest painting lesson. All right, now if you want to go crazy and you want to try something new, remember to watch that video that says that it was the colored pencil slide 22, and you can figure out, maybe you want to do complementary colors. Maybe you want to do colors next to each other, which are analogous colors. Maybe you want to paint your picture that way. Maybe you drew it and you shaded it and you're not liking it from lesson 46. And so you drew your favorite thing and you're like, I'm going to try painting it. What are my favorite colors? Turn your artwork over and put the colors down that you want to, like your favorite color. And then once you put your favorite color down on the back, figure out, okay, now what can I do with that? And watch the video on slide 22 that tells you what colors you can use with, if your favorite color was green. Maybe it was split complementary. And you could even Google this. What is split complementary with green? What is complementary with green? What is analogous with green? And just figure out all the choices you have if you want to push it past this. And I hope you have fun doing this. And like I said, just Google what I just said, and you will have fun. I'm glad to report that I only made a 12-minute lesson versus 45, but I feel bad because I did show step by step how to do this, but the video crashed. So this is what we got for painting. If you need more help, Google it, how to paint a picture with complementary colors of red and green, and then you would add whites and blacks to make lights and darks. You could also add red paint to your green, which you would learn to make the green darker. You could go that way, but that's different than this. I just kept it as simple as possible. You can do that, or you can challenge yourself. All right, friends, thank you so much for being here. Look, Miss Kay even wore her green and her red-orange, my favorite colors, complementary colors. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. See you later. Another one down. Good job.